is everybody's quarantine going? We're pretty much in tight lockdown here because of...
But we're not bored though.
But we're not bored.
Finding things to do.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago we were doing Olsons Olympics.
We're still doing it.
We're still
it's
doing
just
it.
on
We're just
hold.
those of you who haven't seen our Olympics,
I can put the link in the description.
it's
I'm
really
currently
funny.
in the lead. Liechtenstein.
Yeah, really. I was winning pretty well at the beginning.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah,
but then
it was really
the
funny.
nerf dodging happened.
It was
Lost.
close. It was really close.
Yeah, you did good though.
Yeah, so it's really fun. This week, I think, I don't know.
It's pretty relaxed this week.
Yeah, it's relaxing. Yeah, it's nice to have family together though. It's nice to have my husband at home all day. It's nice. We have, when he's home though, I drink coffee all the time because he's constantly making pot of coffee, and I just keep drinking coffee. I don't even know how many cups I have drunk today. So this week I baked Blondies. And this is a special recipe coming from my aunt-in-law who passed away, Auntie Jewell. Special lady. If you know her, if you knew her, she's your instant best friend ever. Just a special gifted lady. I loved her so much. This is one of her recipes.
It's good.
And it's so good. It's chewy, it's moist. I'll put the recipe in the description down below.
We've gotten a lot of requests for different hymns, so we're going to be taking those into consideration and doing them over probably the next few weeks, right?
Yes. Thank you. But today we're going to cover This Is My Father's World. This Is My Father's World was written by Maltby Babcock. He was born on August 3rd, 1858 in Syracuse, New York. He has a great family background. His great-grandfather was second president of Hamilton College. His name was Henry Davis, and his grandfather was a Presbyterian minister. So Maltby also became a Presbyterian minister when he was younger. But early life, he was known as a very skilled amateur musician. He played the organ, piano, and violin. That's pretty accomplished.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's not even Asian.
Yeah.
And he also was a university sportsman. He played baseball, and he was a great swimmer.
Yeah, because at that time, baseball was... Well, he would have been in college in like the 1880s, maybe. Mm-hmm. Yeah, baseball was, getting really popular around.
Okay, and he was very like tall and charismatic looking. Probably very handsome.
Well, it's good because his name's Maltby, so
what a name! I think his mom's name was Maltby.
He was named after his mom. Yeah, if your name is Maltby, you have to.
I might be wrong.
You have to be a baseball player and
be
good looking
Google
just to make it in life.
Anyways, but he was married to Catherine Elliott Tillman. Early marriage, though, he and Catherine lost 2 babies in infancy, so that was very, very difficult for them. He was also known for his endeavor in assisting Jewish refugees in New York. He passed away actually very young. He was only age 42 when he passed away. He battled with depression on and off.
Was it caused by anything? Because he lost 2 children, maybe. Did that have a...
No, I don't know.
Part in that.
His church gave him the gift to go to the Holy Land, and so he went the end of 1800s. And but he caught what is called Mediterranean fever. It's right now it's called, I think, brucellosis. I think it's infection. It's a gut infection. You get infected by eating unpasteurized milk or uncooked or undercooked meat that is infected by this virus. And so he got that, and that also caused some further depression. And so sadly he ended his own life at age 42, and that was 1901. This is my father's world. This is a sweet title, and this title came from every time he went for a walk in upper New York State, he told his wife, well, I'm gonna go see my father's world. And he took a walk and he enjoyed his stroll outside. And so that's how this title came.
Wow.
Yeah. The music is actually from
Lord of the Rings.
It's actually a traditional English folk music. And I think that's why the Lord of the Rings has the same first 7 notes. Da, 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 da. The 7 notes are the same. It might be because of the English old
because the
tune.
Shire was supposed to be kind of like a folky English little town.
And so it's from the English folk tune arranged by Franklin Shepherd. Okay, so let's talk about the words of the hymn. Okay, first verse. This is my father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings, and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my father's world. I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas. His hand the wonders wrought. This is the first verse. What stands out to you, James?
Boy. Well, it's very visual. He's like painting a picture with these words. I think of like a meadow or a glen where you can hear like the birds chirping, you hear like the trees rustling in the wind, you hear the animals scurrying about. It's very visual. So I think when he writes I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, he's applying what Jesus taught in Matthew 6 to consider the lilies. He's resting in the thought of how God created rocks, trees, skies, seas. He sustains them. How much more will he sustain me?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah, I know that stands out to me too, that I rest me in the thought of his creation. And how does his creation give us rest and peace? And I found this in Belgic Confession. And it talks about how God has 2 books. There's of course 2 books, not really the physical books, but in 2 books how he reveals himself. One book is a general revelation, which he reveals himself in his creation, nature, and all his creation. And the other one is a special revelation where he reveals himself through Christ and his word, so the Bible. And so this is Belgic Confession, Article 2. We know him, God, by 2 means. First, by the creation, preservation, and government of the universe, which is before our eyes as a most elegant book, wherein all creatures, great and small, are as so many characters leading us to see clearly the invisible things of God, even his everlasting power and divinity, as the Apostle Paul says in Romans 1:20. All which things are sufficient to convince men and leave them without excuse. Second, he makes himself more clearly and fully known to us by his holy and divine word. That is to say, as far as is necessary for us to know in this life, to his glory and our salvation. And so I was thinking about that when I read the part, I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, his hand the wonders wrought. That if he reveals his everlasting power and divinity through his creation, when we see his creation, yes, we do rest in that.
And I think just to think that this is my Father's world, true, but it is also a fallen world. And to think of what our Father's world will look like in the new heavens and the new earth. All of this is just a foretaste of what is going to come, what is going to happen. And
I love that the idea of foretaste, because foretaste, what it does to us is it makes us more hungry for what is to come. And so his creation now on this earth, even though it's tainted by sin and polluted by sin, but still it makes us more excited and more hungry for the full beauty of his creation to come. Okay, the second verse. This is my Father's world. The birds their carols raise, the morning light, the lily white, declare the Maker's praise. This is my Father's world. He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere.
I kind of see this verse as like an extension of the first verse. That kind of has similar themes. But it shows that all of creation worships God, and they're designed to praise him and to give him glory.
And that is Psalm 19, 1 and 2. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims in his handiwork.
I like the last part. In the rustling grass I hear him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. It's kind of alluding to God's omnipresence, that he's in all places. So when, he is not the wind that is rustling through the grass, but just as much as the wind is there when it's rustling the grass, so is God there as well. And he speaks to me everywhere is alluding to he speaks through his creation, or as we just read in the Belgic confession, his general revelation, that he's, you look at the tree, I was actually thinking out when I walk by and through Biola's campus, they have, a bed of flowers. And I'll take a look at it as I'm walking to class sometimes, and I'll just think this, even one flower amongst the hundreds here is so complex in its design and in its, intricacies, the way that the stem goes and buds into petals and everything like that. There is no excuse, because God is speaking to me right there in that flower. And, now that's just one flower. So you just go about your day. You see so much creation. You see trees, you hear birds, you see maybe your dog, you see other people, all creation, right? It is God so clearly speaking to us. And everywhere, all over. And also when we sing that last phrase, he speaks to me everywhere, we're acknowledging the truth, which again, if you watched last week's video, we're worshiping, and with theology, we're acknowledging the truth that he speaks to us everywhere, in the sense that he's revealing himself and his attributes to us everywhere. For example, we see, the way the trees work, and how the roots get the water, and the water goes into the leaves, and all of the complex but beautiful and perfect designs. God is revealing to us and speaking to us his perfect design, his perfect plan. That if he can create the trees in such a way that they work and function in such a way, then we can trust in his perfect plan for us. So when we say he's speaking to us, we again are acknowledging the truth that he is revealing himself to us so that we can trust him. All right, third verse.
Okay, third verse. This is my Father's world. Oh, let me never forget that though the wrong seems oft so strong, God is the ruler yet. This is my Father's world. The battle is not done. Jesus who died shall be satisfied, and earth and heaven be one.
That's good.
This third one sheds a light a little bit on special revelation, so that the other book of the two books that God reveals himself through. The special revelation, so the author, the Molt B, he mentioned about Jesus and how he died for his people, and he shall be satisfied. And I think this shall be satisfied, this comes from Isaiah 53:11. Would you, James, mind reading it for us?
Out of the anguish of his soul, he shall see and be satisfied. By his knowledge shall the righteous one, my servant, make many to be accounted righteous, and he shall bear their iniquities.
By his divine knowledge, we can say that Jesus knew the redemptive plan when he died on the cross. And so, again, I quoted last week too from Hebrews 12:2, for the joy that was set before him. And that he had that joy set before him as he was crucified and accomplished the redemption. And that he shall be satisfied is that yes, his work is finished, but we still live in the world of already and not yet. So when Jesus comes back in glory and all the redemptive plan is completed, and I think that's what this author is talking about, that Jesus shall be satisfied and the earth and heaven be one, the new earth and a new heaven.
And I really like the phrase, "This is my Father's world," and the way that it's used, that though the wrong seems often so strong, God is the ruler, yet this is my Father's world. I think it's like used as a reinforcement to remind us that, yeah, you know what? The wrong seems very strong so often, with disease, with death, with selfishness and greed at the supermarkets and the panic and the anxiety and all these things. And yeah, the wrong is so prevalent. All you have to do is go online and check out the news, but nothing can happen in his world that he does not permit, or that he has not planned perfectly. And we can see that truth in nature. And I think that's the beautiful, circular way of looking at this hymn, is that the first two verses give us reason to trust in God through nature. And then the third verse tells us to trust in God, revealing that he is our king. Look at his creation. He's the king. He's the ruler. It's his world. Don't worry, even though there's so much wrong in this world. And then you start over, you read it again, the first two verses. Well, he is the maker. He is the ruler, because he has made all of nature to reveal himself to us. And that means he is a good ruler. He's a good king. He's a loving king. And
so he's more than a creator. He is the ruler. He governs them all. Yeah. And I think it's a timely hymn, don't you think?
Yes.
When things seem to be out of control, what happens with the virus? What's going on with government regulations, or all these things going around? We can always, again, going back to the first verse, we rest. We rest in the thought that God created all things and he governs all things. And this is his world. He owns them. He governs them.
Yeah. And if no more people die from this virus, this world is still our Father's. And if 10 more people die, it's still our Father's. If 2,000 more people die, if 200,000 people die, it's still his world. Nothing can change that truth.
Right. And then he is good.
Yes.
And he is kind. He's compassionate. He's holy, and he's just, and all that. So in his character, we can also rest in him. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you found comfort in this hymn. It's always good to be reminded of who God is and how God reveals himself in his creation, and we live in his world. This is our Father's world. I'm planning to do As the Deer next week, which was requested by one of the viewers. And it was also happened to be my one of my favorites when I was in college. Unless my husband Rob wants to be on this one, and then he might want to cover his favorite hymn. So we'll see. But stay tuned. Huh?
He's kicking me off.
No, we want you, James. I think you have some fans. Anyway, well, have a nice Lord's Day.